These are real questions that big companies are asking people in the interview process. Okay, and so we're going to discuss the range of these things, and I might ask the booth to answer one of these questions. So get your mics on back there. I might look for a little bit of interaction from the production team. Okay, here we go. Now, the title of this article is 17 of the weirdest interview questions, and I don't think these questions are weird at all because these are actually intentional questions designed to learn something about you in the interview. Here we go. Google asked this one. If you could choose only one song to play every time you walked into a room for the rest of your life, what would it be? I don't think that's weird. I think this is one of the greatest questions I've ever heard for an interview. Here's why. It says a lot about your personality and what you value. So, Alex, you're a big music guy. I'll put you on the spot. You only have one song that you could choose to play every time you walked in a room. What would it be?
Immigrant Song, I think, by Zeppelin. Yeah.
Okay. See, now I'm not going to take the time to unpack that, but that says a lot about Alex. I can learn a lot about that just by what he said, but then the follow-up questions on that get even more interesting. So it's a wonderful icebreaker that can reveal a lot about somebody. It's a great question. Facebook, one of their questions was, how many Big Macs does McDonald sell each year in the U.S.? Again, not a weird question. I'll guarantee you that question is for an analyst, right? And so they want to see how they process that question. How would they go about answering that? Google. Here's another one of these, like for a project manager, maybe for an analyst, data cruncher. Choose a city and estimate how many piano tuners operate a business there. Facebook. Here's another interesting question. How much do you charge to wash every window in Seattle? It's a great interview question because the person's going to have to analyze that and go, okay, let me start thinking about how many windows, how much time it would take. That's a very good question to see how someone's mind works for that particular position. I love that question. Apple, if I was talking to your best friend, what is one thing they would need to say you work on? Oh, baby, that's a good one. Now we're going to find out if someone is completely full of crap or if they have some self-awareness and they can handle it, because that's a little bit of pressure. I love that question. Microsoft asked this question in an interview. If you had a choice between two superpowers, being invisible or flying, which would you choose? All right, Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot for that one, because I got an answer on this one. If you could choose either of those superpowers, being invisible or flying, which one would you choose, Joe?
Easy, flying. Because
Really?
if you're invisible, everybody's going to run into you.
That's an interesting take. See, I learned a lot about Joe there. 5 years ago, I probably would have said flying because of the sheer convenience of it. I mean, think about that. You know, I left my computer at home. Be right back. You know, I mean, that's kind of cool. But I really think the invisible is an unbelievable competitive advantage. I mean, the conversations that you could get in on. Woo! Interesting stuff. But again, see, there's an example. The answer gives you a little bit of a insight into Joe, but then you got the follow-up question. Cisco asked, what kind of a tree would you be? I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd have to think about that one on the spot, right? But I think, again, it was, let's say somebody answered, I'd want to be a cherry tree. You know, they kind of go, oh, cherry tree. Yeah, they blossom in the spring. They're beautiful. People like to look at them. Maybe that person likes a lot of attention. Maybe they're a little bit of a performer. I don't know what the answer is. Very interesting. Here's this one. MasterCard. I'm going to end with this one. What do you do? This has got to be a customer service or management position that they're asking this. What do you do if you're approached by an employee who is complaining about a colleague who has horrible body odor? Great question. Fantastic question. Because now we got a real moment of tension. You got multiple people. So it's a great, if you're interviewing for a management position, they ask you that. What do you do if an employee comes up and talks about one of your other employees who stinks? How do you handle that? Very complex, but yet very simple in the solution. Love that question. So you got to be prepared for those kind of questions. And leaders, if you're interviewing people, ask questions like that. Word problems designed to help you learn more about them.